Hello, I'm Toycat, and welcome back to the A to Z of geography. Today we're on the letter Z, the final letter of the alphabet, which means there's only two countries we could be talking about, Zambia and Zimbabwe. These are both the only two Z countries in the world. They both have similar populations, and not only do they have similar names now, but they had similar names when they used to be called Northern Rhodesia and Southern Rhodesia, so there is a link between these countries. There's also clearly something weird going on with this shape of Zambia and the fact that it's got this weird hole cut out of it. What is the deal with that? What is the deal with all of this? Allow me to explain that, as well as the very obvious thing about what happened with this series, Toycat, and the missing letters. I'm not trying to ignore it. I will be addressing it just at the end of this video after I talk about the borders. Zambia is one of the most bordered countries in the world, bordering 7 separate nations. It might seem, because there's Angola to the west, there's Dr. Congo, Tanzania, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and then by the tiniest little thin stretch of Namibia over here, you've got yourself another bordering country. But if we're talking about weird stretches, you can see, looking at Botswana, there is a tiny border, a little border crossing between Botswana and Zambia, which means that officially they have 8 separate countries' borders around them. Very, very, very wacky information. But what you might find to be even more wacky than that is the fact that they have very odd borders with basically all of these countries. Why does Namibia have a panhandle? Why does Botswana have this tiny border here? Why, you know, what is the deal with this and that and everything? And honestly, I would love to go into each of these individually because they do have some interesting geographic features, but ultimately, when you're talking about African borders, especially a landlocked African nature's borders, the reason that the things happen the way they do is because of agreements between various European powers. It's not something to be proud of if you're European, especially dumb borders like this. Dr. Congo, indeed, the Belgian portion of Africa and the British portion of Africa was agreed to follow a river, and that river wasn't known to have an endpoint, so they kind of just followed it to see what was happening, and as they surveyed it, they realized the river didn't end anywhere, and indeed went to this, it looks like a lake on Google Maps, but it's actually a swampland, and then turns into nothing. How do you draw a border around that, besides if you're the Belgians saying, well, I guess we could draw a straight line from there to our other parts of our territory. That was them being generous. Instead of trading territory to make a more logical thing, they created this weird little extrusion, which, again, just a fun little fact right here, is if you compare the distance of it to the capital of its country, 1,800 kilometers, it's closer to 15 other African nations' capitals, so it's closer to Zambia, obviously, and Zimbabwe, obviously, and maybe, obviously, Luanda, and Burundi, and Rwanda. So many countries have closer capitals than its own, and that is probably one of the reasons things are wacky. Looking at the map of territories in Africa, you can kind of understand why. Well, when Belgium made their colonies into one, country, you can see that with Portugal, they obviously separated them, and that creates 2 borders. This indeed was a central part of Africa that was just kind of divided amongst many places that since became their own countries, and so it creates one of the weirder shaped countries in the world, ultimately. And honestly, again, it's a weird thing it's not a good thing, also, I should mention. Like, a straight line border is rarely useful, but this way, what's the reason behind it? Who knows why there's a straight line here and there? It could be that there's a natural mountain range causing that, but we always know the reason's gonna be like, well, if it makes a perfect right angle, it's probably more than, being a perfect border. What's much more likely is that they drew a line there, and said be done with it. And although, even though I would say that's a bad way to draw a border, if you actually look at some of the more niche drawn borders, when you're trying to draw borders in a yet to be surveyed continent, and a continent that wasn't making their own borders, and didn't have wasn't necessarily at that stage of, the nation state game, you create really weird anomalies. So look at this border again. So Angola, a Portuguese colony, and Zambia have a border that mostly is straight lines, but the part of it that isn't straight lines is messy and proves to you why even actually, having more featured straight lines also is dumb. This is the river they could have used for the border, and instead you get a weird situation of a road, a fairly major Zambian road, it looks like, which crosses into Angola, and then back into Zambia, and then back into Angola, and then back into Zambia, and then back into Angola over here, then back into Zambia, and then, as you can see, you stay in Zambia for a bit, and then you're back into Angola, and then back into Zambia, Africa, back into Angola, to Zambia, to Angola. I mean, in this part, actually, you only are in Angola if you go a little bit too far to the left of the road when driving to the north here. But anyway, the point is to say that there is some ridiculous borders. Looking around the country, you can see, like, okay, well, obviously, Rhodesia used to be a shared thing, and so, like, that's more of a logical line. But looking at their other nations' borders, it's like, yeah, if someone in a room draws a border without ever knowing what's there, that's the problem. A lot of people will say, well, it's just the idea of colonialism as a whole. And yeah, if there was no colonialism, you wouldn't have borders that look like this. You probably have several hundred more African states, to be totally honest. But the bigger problem is, like, if you don't know the territory, it's very, you probably shouldn't be delimiting the lines. And ultimately, the reason they made the lines is because, yeah, you have to make sure you don't fight. And rather than working out where the line should be after you find resources, as we discussed in the Nigeria episode, probably a better idea to work out the lines before anything's found, and that is why Zambia has this weird little protrusion into it, because the Belgians were like, we want the land just in case. And just in case seems to have been a valid reason. Zambia is very rich in copper, a resource which they're one of those states that is in the resource extraction part of their game, and so to do things entirely differently for this last episode, let's move into the provinces of Zambia. Do you see how the provinces relate just a little bit to the primary export of this export-rich country? There is a province literally called the Copperbelt province. Zambia is sadly, unlike many of the countries we've spoken about, a place which is divided into provinces, but only effectively divided into provinces. Although there is huge disparities amongst how many people live where. You can see there's a very central population corridor, which kind of goes along the side here. You can see where the infrastructure is, although there is very much a centrally populated area, and they might have different needs to the rest of it. It is one of those countries that has a system where they install a central government official to run each province, but that is from the central government. It is an entirely unitary state, all ran from the capital of Lusanska, and just for the fun thing, I love to always show off a capital city. Let's see what this city looks like. This is a Radisson Blue. I mean, it's a nice looking Radisson. Oh, no, it's not. Wait, what? How did they get a camera up here? Why would you put a camera up there is a more important question. But showing you the actual road, you can see here is what the capital looks like. It's, it's fairly nice, I guess. It exists. It's a place. And so, yeah, speaking of things that are places, I guess it should be worth saying that Zambia is a poor nation. When you look at the population figures, it's weird how much birth rate basically just entirely aligns with the wealth of place. This is one of the biggest population growths you can see in the world. Zambia is it's like 154th wealthiest nation on the planet, and that is maybe goes without saying, but that leads to some weird things. Oh, I've just now realized you can click this by year, and so you can see the year where their population growth was most insane. At one point in time, they were having a 20% population boom every 20% every 5 years. The population is rapidly growing, but it is not rapidly enriching itself. And indeed, if you look a little bit closer and you see like, okay, well, if you look at the migration situation, it's rare that people are coming into the country for opportunity, and instead that people are leaving for neighboring South Africa, Malawi, Zimbabwe, the United Kingdom. You know, it's a telling sign when just getting to any country is a desperation thing for your people. And it is not a country. You know, I would love to end on all the positive, great things. But as far as the internal political situation, I don't have a lot of good things to say, and so there's not a lot of good things for anyone to say, rather. And so instead, how about travel advice time? The final travel advice I can give you for this series. What should you do if you want to go to Zambia? I was surprised to learn that the UK says, you don't have to worry. It's never safe to go anywhere, but you're probably safe there. There is specific advice for women, disabled, and LGBT travelers, but ultimately, as far as safety and security, everything is fine in Zambia. Oh, no, yeah, besides the high threat of terror attacks affecting UK interests, and also, you know, it's probably, the political situation leads to demonstrations. Just avoid them and leave the scene if a crowd develops. Do not cross protester roadblocks, and also make sure that you stay safe in daylight and travel in daylight hours. Also, keep windows closed and doors locked when traveling. Ignore hitchhikers. Watch out for potential carjackers when approaching locked gateways at night, or if an object has been placed to block the road. Only use cars arranged for you by a hotel or tour operator. Also, no porn, no drugs. Don't take pictures of their stuff, and also don't do same-sex activity in Zambia. Yeah, that's an important thing. But yeah, Zambia is a place that is sadly not at the top of anyone's to-go list, but maybe it should be. I think one of the fun things about this series is showing you that, like, yeah, there are lots of places in the world with huge numbers of people that you've never considered, that you've never thought about, and even though we did a skim, the briefest look into each of these, I hope it was something that you enjoyed. And finally, to addressing the thing time, I would like to say that this series has been one of the fun attempts on this channel. Having a video like once a week or so was the craziest thing that I've ever did in this channel back in the years of growth and like 5 years ago or so. And I honestly really like the schedule being when I have something fun to say, I will share something that is hopefully fun. I think that's always been the best upload schedule for any channel. And so I decided to do, just for fun for December, a daily series just to like see if we could. I really didn't think about it, but to say, it's not that December was like, I make the joke that it's because of ad revenue, but ultimately on this channel, like, this is not my ad revenue earner. This isn't my like big source of profit. I appreciate the people who are Patreons, who are buying air fryers and helping to make it that way, but ultimately right now, it is, for me, a fun outlet, a hobby, an opportunity for me to talk about something I'm passionate about and genuinely will spend hours scrolling, hours a week scrolling Google Maps, just looking around stuff anyway, and having an opportunity to share that with you. And so doing the daily series was an opportunity to try that. But this is also the busiest month for me because of my other commitments. December is the big month for YouTube, and so it means that I have the least time ever to work on this channel. And I've been trying to work on a daily series, something that has been massively improved with the help of Naito. He's been really handy. A lot of you liked the Mexico episode where he featured fully and even ranked my pronunciation. I liked the Mexico episode. It's definitely one of the best ones on this. But I do want to say that, yeah, there's some letters that went missing. But wouldn't it just be easier if we just don't acknowledge those countries? What if we just wait until they go missing? Then eventually, at one point in time, this will be the correct A to Z. That's right. Double down. Say that actually it's the world that's wrong for having too many letters. But more seriously, I hope you don't mind too much, and I hope that you're looking forward to the future of this channel. One of the fun things about doing so many videos, getting 20 videos this December, is the fact that the result of that is we've had a lot of time to learn, these fun little touches, and so you can see the quality improve even from start to end. And I think that is something that I want to use going forward. I love this communication via country balls, or I love communication of base ideas using, I think there's so much you can do, because I don't want to have editing be like, ooh, let's do crazy, everything's highly scripted down on this channel. But instead I want there to be an opportunity to tell stories in better ways. And hopefully that's something that you're going to see on this channel through that. Or maybe you disagree. Maybe you thought this was the worst set of videos and you're only here because you feel like you need to complete it anyway. In either case, I really appreciate you joining me on this journey. I think it's been a fun one, and I look forward to seeing you in 2024 for a series of video, for whatever, I think realistically, a weekly video on something fun. A lot of people are liking Naito. We're gonna be continuing to make sure we stay true to the heart of the channel, which is fun, goofy things about geography you can usually see in Google Maps, while adding in that element of geopolitics, adding in the travel videos here and there. Like going to Haiti, definitely happening. I'll call it Haiti while I'm there. I'll find someone who calls it Haiti when I'm there. I'll find the proof of that later. But for now, I just want to say thank you for your support on this series. It has been a good time, and I'm looking forward to the future of this channel in 2024, because yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break now. I've got some Christmas stuff planned. This is my first Christmas after the death of my mother. It's a big time for me to like move forward in life in all sorts of ways, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. But for now, thank you for watching, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Goodbye.